And the meeting has started.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, October 5th, 2023. It's the second Land Use Committee meeting of the fiscal year 2023 for Community Board 17. My name is Kwame Afray, Chair of the committee, and I call this meeting to order. Greetings. I wasn't aware that the Farragut group was going to be here. Thank you. The information you distributed last meeting has now been in the hands of our community members. They've been able to live with it. And ultimately, if we need any questions answered, I'm happy that you're here to, if they haven't,
No problem.
if they have any other questions after the chairperson's report, we're going to roll right into that in our unfinished business segment. So just be patient with us and allow us just to deal with a few things. And
Sounds good.
thank you. Approval of the meeting minutes. I didn't receive the meeting minutes for last month. So, there's a backlog in the office. There is going to be probably a period where we're going to have to approve several months meeting minutes at once. Ms. Frazier's doing her best, but she's not only handicapped, she's in a wheelchair, so to speak, in the office. She lost two viable hands in the last 6 months. So things are difficult, but eventually we'll get up to par and be on course to correct that issue. Right, Ms. Frazier?
Yes, sir. And members are encouraged to visit the board's website to look at the recording. They will be posted on the website. We are only presenting now any action item voted on and attendance in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so into the chairperson's reports. No new business has come across the table from our last meeting. I did get a call on Sunday from Allison, actually, to go to support one of our community members. Sorry, my eyes. On Lennox Road, we actually went there. There was two actual issues on Lennox Road. Rita Joseph, some officials from DOD, and our community representative from Department of Sanitation, because whoever's on the phone, mute themselves, if you don't mind. I just don't have the ability to. Was there on the block to discuss two issues that were happening at two properties. On the north side of the street, if anybody's familiar with Lennox Road, the south side of the street has co-ops. The north side of the street at one time was all homes, but now it's a mixture. Actually, it wasn't always all homes, but it was mostly homes, but now it's a mixture of residential mid-rises, and there's still some homes cluttered in, but there's a couple of 6-story residential buildings that are there. Within the block, next door to Ms. Spence, there's actually a neglected property that was picked up from a developer. We're assuming they're a developer. It's the deed was transferred under an LLC sometime in 2019, and they just haven't been keeping up with the property. It has overgrown grass. It's, in my opinion, become a dumping ground because people know that nobody's actually there. I don't believe that the people in the property are actually producing the refuse that's there. There's a car that's parked inside of the driveway to prevent anybody from utilizing the back streets, and there may or may not be an occupant in the building, which is making it more difficult for the Department of Buildings to condemn the property or to label it as such. It is falling apart. There's been some reports about the roof is in decay, and it actually fell at some point. And the action that's being taken from the departments that were present is sanitation was notified. They're going to do their best to try to clean up the area. Fines were obviously issued to the proprietor, but they're fines. We don't know how they address that. I did try to find their address. They're somewhere on Avenue M, but it seems like to just be like one of those phantom offices where you could just have an address and there's no number or communication. But they're working vigorously to try to figure out a way, with the support from Rita Joseph and some other community residents, to try to at least get the property maintained. Up the block at 311 Lennox Road, there's just a stop work order, I guess, that happened quite some time ago. Apparently they were trying to do a high-rise or mid-rise building there, Some cracks started to appear in the adjacent building, which ceased construction. A court order, stop work order was issued, preventing any further construction. They have a hearing date on November 8th, but in the meantime, they've issued violations for not maintaining the construction fence. That permit's been expired, and they actually contacted the Department of Health for the overgrown foliage, saying that it may be a health hazard. I'm mentioning this because it was quite educational to know that there's many different ways to, and obviously this is on two separate blocks. I'm pretty sure this is happening throughout the district, but there were several different methods outside of 311 that could be utilized to try to punish the people. But I'll speak more on it when there's actually something to get executed on and it gets resolved. But that's where we stand with those two. Outside of that, I drafted the letter. I know it went into the group chat earlier on. I didn't get any comments. And I know it was issued last week on our initial land use committee invitation that went out. Tonight, we're gonna, double down and figure out what we want that language to sound like. And that ends my report. I don't believe I had anything else. Do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? No. I don't have the chat visible. Okay. Oh yeah, the rats. Yeah, there was some rats. Obviously, the overgrown refuse and the high grass is not a breeding ground, but the perfect environment for the rats to try to inhabit. Miss Adele Bennett, you're acknowledged.
Yes, good evening. What I wanted to say is that, yes, punishing them is a very, very good idea, but there is like I said before, I said it to someone else, there is something called level 4 issuance. That means that those traffic agents in Manhattan, they used to be in Brooklyn, they were moved out of Brooklyn quietly. They're the ones who write the fines for the construction zones. That's why they're doing what they're doing and trying to get away with it, because someone had them moved out of this area. We used to have them. We had about 3 of them in CB 17, and they were doing a beautiful job of finding these construction sites. But all of a sudden, I noticed they were gone. And I asked why. They said somebody sent them back to Manhattan. I said, why? We need them here. Well, maybe we can get a petition against with the community, ourselves, and with this body to demand, not ask, demand them to be returned to us. They're the ones who keep the caps on the foolishness a lot of these construction sites do. And they write the summonses all the way up to 25,000 and above.
I can't speak on the history of that, but I can say that they have been continually writing summonses for these properties that we're speaking about tonight. I can't speak on all the properties. But you're breaking up, Ms. Bennett.
Usually the Department of Buildings, but I'm talking about a division that writes those summonses for the construction zones 24/7.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit there. I didn't quite get everything you captured.
I said they write the summonses for the construction zones.
The people that you're saying were moved. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know to ask about that, but I guess I'll follow up on what unit was used. We'll use whatever unit used to be designated for our district and is no longer here. I think the health department is still here. They actually told me they were up the block on Lenox Road.
Yes.
But the DOB themselves are probably not, that's probably a new system, but, figure those things out.
Okay.
Sorry, Miss Bennett. A little choppy, Miss Bennett.
Well, I said I hope we can, agree to have them brought back.
the unit. Yeah, I got to see who can I contact, because they do a very.
Well, I give you his name. If you get it at the end, I'll put it in the chat. And
Yeah,
everybody can
or you
look.
could, if you could email or text it to me, that'd be great.
Mhm.
We could just
Mhm.
contact and find out what's going on. I didn't
Yeah,
address this. All right.
it's quietly and very sneaky about it. That's not right.
Yeah.
His name's O'Sullivan, Inspector O'Sullivan.
If you don't mind, if you could just text me his contact or information you have on that, I'll follow up.
Okay. Oh,
No problem.
give me a number.
I will. I'll put it in the chat.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions regarding the report? Hearing none. Hearing none. Okay. And now we move on to unfinished business. Last month, was our first meeting. We kind of got shoe jockeyed into dealing with something, coming back from the summer. Some information was delivered late. We've had a month to live with it. Even though last month our consensus was still given, we've been able to live with that information now. And we have the presenters here to ask any additional questions as required should your opinions change. Now that the floor is open for unfinished business, does anybody have anything they'd like to bring to the table to discuss with the developers? This is in regards to the zoning variance being pursued through the Board of Standard and Appeals to reduce the parking from the required 45 to 5 at 3002 Farragut Road. Any questions? Comments? Ms. James, you're acknowledged.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right.
Not only is the availability of medical care important, the quality of care is also important. Very few doctors are able to go on to become surgeons. Cost probably another $100,000 in terms of, student loans, whatever the case may be, to become a surgeon. And most surgeons do not aspire after 14 years of education to work at a diagnostic and treatment center. So already the reality is, and the truth is whatever it is, that you wouldn't ordinarily find the cream of the crop of surgeons working at a diagnostic center. And now we're trying to have a situation where the surgeons who are willing to work at this diagnostic center, we are being told that they're going to take a bus and a train to get to a surgical center to do surgery. I certainly would not want a doctor, a surgeon, who had to wait for the bus or Brooklyn buses to get to a center to be doing surgery on me. I certainly don't want a doctor who drives to the center and is worried about getting a ticket, right? And trying to squeeze through to get his surgery done in 2 hours before he gets on a ticket. It is incumbent on anybody doing business here in our community to provide the highest level of service possible. And so we need to create an environment whereby doctors who are going to come to work in the surgeons, as a matter of fact, at least are comfortable, so that when they're providing services to members of this community, they're endeavoring to provide the highest quality of service.
Thank you, Ms. James. Does anybody have any comments to add or any rebuttals to Ms. James' statement?
Good evening, all. My name is Shirley Legros. I'm one of the managers here. I would like to respond to Ms. James. To the point of which caliber of surgeon that we have that comes in the facility. All of the surgeons that we have are, they are coming from the hospitals. They are chairs and downstate, Kings County, they come here not because they want to escape or something else. They come here because the wait in the hospitals are so long for them to get surgery and with their patients that they see in their private facility. In order for them to do a surgery in the hospital, it will take them a month to book a surgery. When they come here, they're able to do it within few days, within weeks, and the surgeons are booked, not coming in rush 2 hours to do surgery, but according to what procedure they're coming to do, they're here all day to do their procedures. So we don't have second-rate surgeon doctors that come in our facility to do procedures. All of them are vetted. They are board certified, double certified surgeons that are working in Kings County, downstate, Maimonides, and they choose to come here because it's easier for their patients to get in the facility as quickly as possible because the hospitals are backlogged. And that's what we're dealing with in that sense. In regards to doctors taking the bus, we have Dr. Hong, who is a board certified cardiovascular surgeon. Okay, he takes the train, he comes here, he's not stressed, he is not rushing to go where he needs to go. He comes in because it's easier for him to get here by train. He gets out of his home, he gets in the train, he gets here. Traffic, it's easier for him. With traffic, it's easier for him to get here. I don't know if that answer any of your questions. That's just one of the doctors.
Mr. Chair, just some point, so I'll hand it over and whatever. To use one doctor as an example who comes in from Manhattan. And actually, I've seen that at one particular diagnostic and treatment center. There was one doctor who actually, yes, I wish I remembered his name, who took the train. But to use that as justification for the rest of the doctors who are coming from the hospitals you mentioned to think that they're going to be taking public transportation to drive to, to get to your facility to do surgery, that's absurd. That does not make sense. It's actually an insult to us for you to make us think that that's going to happen. So one doctor is not an example. The majority of doctors who work at that level as a surgeon has a car and expects to drive and have the luxury of transportation. Thank you.
If I may, I was not implying that all of the doctors taking the train. And what I was responding to is the comment about the doctors, stressing out and you would not want a physician taking the bus or the train to come here. So I just made that particular point to say the people that do come and take the train are okay taking the train, and the reason why the reasoning behind them taking the train is easier for them to get here due to traffic and other circumstances. We do have currently parking spots in the building that we have for doctors and surgeons that come into our facility. If we don't have space for them, and I remember the last point that was made. I can't remember the name of the person. I think it was Adele, maybe, from our last meeting, stating that we had a problem with parking currently, and they had doctors on the sidewalk. We did take that into, we did discuss it, and we started having our security person, if the doctors are in the rush, they're coming in and they have no time to find parking, this person started parking them in the streets. It's not that because there's no parking in the street, it's because they got here, it's traffic, it's time for them to see patients that been waiting. So he will take the car and valet them in the parking, in the street parking. So that's what we've been doing to remedy the congestion in front of the building.
Thank you. Ms. Viglianti, you're acknowledged.
Yes, thank you. You know, that may all be well and good that but that will put more, that puts valeting parking for the doctors also then puts more pressure on the rest of the community who also needs parking. You also have other employees that work there. There may be people that want to go there to get a procedure who want to drive there and park. So you need to respect the community's wish for parking. And it doesn't matter if there's even a spot for all the doctors. There's more people than just the doctors might want parking. And to keep the pressure off the rest of the community, you need to provide parking.
And sorry, this is Elise. Just so you know, there is a traffic engineer that is hired on this project that has been doing looking at what the needs of the community are parking wise and has been working back and forth with DOT. So that is still ongoing, but they found that at the most we would have a demand of 7 cars. We provide 5 on site. So just wanted you to know that
That
DOT
doesn't-
has
that-
to say.
I don't think that makes any sense, that only 7,
Okay.
you need, how many parking spots are in the other building that you have for the other building?
5, I believe, in the
So-
other building.
I'm sorry, what?
It's 6, 7,
You have 7 in the other building?
yes.
And then 7 in this building would make 14 spots for 2 large buildings?
For 5, they're asking for 5, so they're asking for
5.
12.
Yeah, we
Well-
have 5, but we're going back and forth with DOT and we will not get this approved until DOT has agreed that we meet the demand.
Okay, because 12 parking spots just is not, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Can't hear. I'm not sure if you're trying to communicate, Adele. Something's wrong with your mic. Maybe try to disconnect, reconnect. It's not coming through clear at all. Okay. All right. I also just want to make sure that even although we're talking about the operations, you know, this variance is not for them to conduct their business. You know what I mean? This variance is for the removal of a requirement of 45 parking spots. Although all the other information is important, I just don't want us to forget what they're actually asking or what the ask is ultimately. It all matters ultimately at the end, but just so we as a committee understand that they are coming for one particular thing. Just so that we don't lose focus. Ms. Martinez, Hazel.
Good evening. But it may be that they're here for the parking variance. However, the quality of care rendered is very important because our communities tend to have a lot of facilities with very poor quality of care. I have spent a lifetime auditing these things for the state health department. So I'm quite aware of the quality that's rendered in a lot of them. And I can't tell you that I've come across one where it was really great that I would take myself to. So sometimes, even though the parking is the issue, it's also an issue of, do we need another one of these facilities? Because I'm not clear. Are we having both sides of the street now would have this facility?
What's happening is this is an expansion of their current operation. They're going to have the facility across the street. Anybody from your team, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be specifically to have operating rooms for surgeries to be conducted, right?
Yes, as well as additional exam offices for additional services.
It's a business, so the company has been operating across the street for 24 years, I think you guys said. I'm pulling from memory. I could be making that number up. They've been in the community for 24 some odd years. So there's probably a history of what they've done in the past, and they're trying to expand across the street to an acquired property for the use of rooms and office space, operating
Because
room space.
because I've had some random conversations with various people in the community, and none of them had anything really good to say.
Okay.
Let's say.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't
wonderful.
know. Are you done, Hazel? I didn't know if you were finished.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So Adele, the floor is yours.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I work in that area, and there are usually 6 to 8 cars, not just in front on the Farragut side, but on the Nostrand side, and also the opposite side on Farragut. They park on the sidewalk there because they have no room. Who's ever valet parking them is doing a very poor job of it. And they're usually about, say, 4 cars on the opposite on south side of Farragut, opposite that facility. And in front of the facility, same thing, 4 cars. And now on the Nostrand side, there are at least 3 to 4 cars. They park everywhere on the sidewalk. So I don't know about DOT, but I work with the NYPD, and that is somewhat of a nuisance to the community. And I've spoken to a few people. They want to know why they aren't being towed away, why they aren't being summoned. You see, they are going to end up with summons, and their summons is $115. They cannot do that on the sidewalk. There are children that pass through there. There's a school up the block. No. They need parking, proper parking, to alleviate that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. I'm not sure which it's Tawana.
Yes, hi. Um, I am an current employee at Be Well, been working for about 12 plus years, as well as a resident of the community. To say about the parking on the sidewalk, as my colleague has said, we have tried to improve on that. But to add to the parking struggle, the reason why currently, because yes, you are right, we have parked on the sidewalk, but if you are in the area, you see that maybe 2 to 3 new construction buildings, homes are being built at the same time. And there are, isolating the parking for their construction. So yes, we are improving it. Late we do have someone assigned to park the, go around to find parking. But that also puts a strain on the parking because of the construction that's going on for 3 to 4 buildings in one area. Yes, the employees use the parking, myself, but we a lot of times, if you are workers for a long time at this facility, we know to come in, look for parking, which we do find. Aside from the street parking side to side, if you come on a Wednesday or so, you will see that, the parking on the sidewalk is very limited. But I do feel that the additional strain on the parking is the new buildings, which are being built and hopefully are being completed soon. But overall, I understand, everyone's view on the service and things of that nature. I, am concerned about, everyone's feeling, but the parking is our main concern. I understand that you feel that we need more parking for the employees and the doctors, but the service that we're providing is also a major, major plus to the community. Because myself, I deal with every day getting patients appointments for services that we don't provide because of the space. And the weight of care for a patient to wait 3 to 4. I had a patient today that have to wait to May to see a specialist, and not just one specialist. We call about 4, and they can't get the care they need because is limited, where we are trying to provide, more space, more, for more doctors opportunities to help patients. More parking means less space for the service. So I know that is important for the parking, but I want to put in that I will feel more important for the patients to get the service. I have patients that need, specialists and need doctors today and they can't wait for 3 months. Where if we have more space, we are offered more opportunities and doctors to come in. So that's where, I understand everyone's concerned, but I think the parking is less of a need compared to the service. More parking, that means less service, if I can say that.
You can say that. We can all say a lot of things. I'm not sure who popped up. I'm going to
It
say.
was next. I think it was next.
Okay, Miss James. Sorry.
So I wanted to be objective. So I reached out to someone I know is a merchant on Nostrand Avenue. And she says, "Oh, they're very nice people." And she was going on and on and on, right? And then she's like, "But the question is, do we really need this?" And she started to point out all the other medical facilities in the area and how they'd be negatively impacted. But putting that aside, nobody is challenged in the fact that with the community may or may not need the additional service that you're providing. What we're talking about is the shortcuts that as well, we're providing service to the community, so we're able to do shortcuts. If DOT thought it was reasonable or feasible to cut the number, they would have cut it down. Okay. And what needs to be taken into consideration is there are other businesses there. Over the summer, I spent many days walking down Nostrand Avenue, talking to the merchants there. And the prevailing concern was the parking. They were even asked, I said, we need you guys need to go talk to the transportation meeting. Their concern was, can we even stop the alternate parking like after 4 o'clock? Because they were all complaining about it. And what you are suggesting is because your doctors and your staff will come in earlier, whether it's 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and take up the parking space. So when this business is open at 10 o'clock and their customers come, there is no parking space. So you will flourish by cutting corners where you have the deeper pockets. It's not that it'd be less space. Your company apparently does not want to incur the additional cost of providing for underground parking. So it's not either or. You can go down and have all the floors that you want, but it's more expensive. So to save $500,000 or $1 million, which can be included in your budget, the whole idea is let's save that money, put it into the hands of the owners, and at the same time, at the expense of the merchants on Nostrand Avenue who are going to suffer because their customers cannot find space at all.
Okay. Ms. Viglianti.
Yeah.
And hold on,
Yeah,
before
I
you
was
say
just-
anything, Ms. Viglianti, one second. Who's on the phone? I'm just trying to accumulate attendance. I have somebody called in on 718, ending at 25, and then another person 347, ending at 84. Are you community board 17 land use members? Anybody? No? All right, Ms. Viglianti, go ahead.
I just wanted to, well, actually, Ms. James said a lot of what I was going to say, but to Juana, she kind of proved our point. She's saying that parking is a problem because they're building 2 buildings or whatever. So when those buildings are complete, those people are also going to be looking for parking. And who knows how much parking is going to be provided for them. So the parking problem is a bigger problem than just your establishment. And if everybody can cut corners that way, then we're going to have so much pressure. And with the city of Yes coming into fruition, there's going to be no parking anywhere. So unless you provide the parking, I don't see any way that this can move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Yolanda
Um,
Arlene, thank you very much. And
oh,
yes, Ms. Martinez, yes. Sorry.
oh,
Yeah.
in addition, you're talking about parking for your staff, but people who come and are treated under anesthesia are going to have people picking them up. So you're going to have to need parking for those people or a waiting area or something.
Okay. I guess Ms. Viglianti, you could lower your hand. Adele, I think you spoke. Lower your hand.
We need an ambulance area.
An ambulance area. I think the building did have one, right? It just wasn't big.
Did you?
Huh?
Yeah, I know. The
I think
doctors
the,
park in it.
no, I think the building had like get anybody from the team, if you can answer, I think it.
Yes, I was going to say, yes, we have an ambulance service as well as the new building that is in the plans as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any other comments before I make our final comment? And I'm gonna have everybody add in if I missed something. Any other comments or any other questions for the team here?
Check the chat.
Brooklyn Level Up?
Good evening. This is Allison Martinez. I just want to ask, well, two things. One is if this fails and you're not able to get the variance, what is your plan? What is the backup plan in place? And then if you're not going to, let's say it's not 45 parking, what is it that you're willing to put on the table to negotiate to make this a palatable project?
Thank you.
Do you want me to answer that, or do you want to?
I didn't answer, Alyssa.
Okay, no problem. Just making sure, because you've been giving great responses. So we did file as of right plans, so that's kind of like the backup. But the as of right plans also don't have parking. It just has it's only 3 floors. So it would be 3 floors of medical space and not provide a lot of the services that we hope to provide. So those are filed. And then your second question was about what are we willing to do?
Yeah.
Are you willing to put on the table to negotiate? So if it's not that if your argument is about the level of quality of service you will not be able to provide, if you have to give the 45 parking spaces.
It's not quality of service, it's just the services.
Or the service amounts, I guess the types of services you want to provide.
We're not going to give people bad service.
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying if you're not gonna be able to provide the full panoply of services you were
Yeah,
suggesting.
then we have to build an as of right building, which would
Right.
be half the size.
Just a
And
question.
if it's not 45 parking spaces, how many could you actually accommodate that would still, be able to, provide at least the vast majority of services you propose
So,
and be able to address the parking concern?
so the 5 spaces we provided was a full floor. We showed that last time, what it would take. And then anything more would be additional floors, so it would take out floors. So, like I said, we are going to DOT, but if DOT has a good suggestion on, how we could add work, because they are going to work back and forth with us on how we could add parking, we would be open-minded to that if there's a good suggestion. Or the BSA is also a group of 5 commissioners with experience. One of them is an architect. So if they have any creative solutions for us, we are open-minded towards it. We just don't see how we could, each additional floor we would use would take away that additional space. So it's not that we don't want to give parking, we just want to give the services within the footprint of the permitted building. So, but we are open if, like I said last time, if one of those agencies has a creative idea or wants us to change something, we'll do it.
So you're waiting for, when is your expected return of a response, I guess, for how many spots they think they could accommodate?
So we submitted a study that said 7, 5 there, and then 2 we could accommodate on the street would be possible. And we're waiting to hear back from them. But honestly, this is the first step in the process is you go to the community board and you see what they have to say and you get their recommendation, and then you send it to the Board of Standards and Appeals and the Department of Transportation, and they look at your suggestions and then they work with us back and forth. So this is the very first step. So we don't get put on the Board of Standards and Appeals calendar until you guys issue your vote and comments, and they read those. And that's kind of how the procedure works.
Ms. Fuller, I just have a question.
Yeah.
I understand in the last meeting, I'm bringing it up, recalling from memory, of course, that this was the path of least resistance because it was asking for the least amount of input or the least amount of variances to be changed to accommodate this build, right?
Correct, yes.
Would you consider going to the path of more resistance and accompanying in some of those additional variances so you can maintain your parking? That's the minimum requirement, but have a plan that possibly goes higher in elevation so you can have the best of both worlds. Is that a possibility?
I think it's something we would consider if the other agencies were open to it, but in our experience, they're not. So that's why I'm saying put it in your recommendation, what you think, because then if they're open to it, it's something we can look at, but we don't want to look at it if it's something they won't even, take into review.
Okay.
So I would just say that whatever your recommendation, you can say, you should put like approved, however, this is what we needed from our community, or not approved because of XYZ. Like you should do that so then we can review it with the appropriate agencies as we go through this process.
Very good. Thank you for clearing that up. Do we have a clear understanding? Any questions, any additional questions? I see a lot of things going in the chat. I'm trying to review. Okay. Any other questions for the team? Ms. Martinez.
Not questions, but my thought is that it seems to me it would behoove the community board and the committee to stay involved in the process because there will be horse trading back and forth between the agencies and the like. And since we're the ones who have to live with the outcome, we should stay involved in the process going forward, especially as there may have to be negotiations regarding, space and going forward with this.
And if it's okay if I say one more thing.
Absolutely.
Before our BSA hearing, about a month before, we noticed everyone within a 400-foot radius of the date, the time, and the link to attend. So if somebody, and we also say you can also submit a written if you cannot attend, if you have a job and you can't get there. There's a place so you can write a response to the board, and they read it all. So just letting everyone know that that will happen before the first hearing that we attend at the Board of Standards.
Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing. Ms. James, I know your hand's still up. Do you want to make a comment before I do?
Yeah, I'm just hearing a disconnect. They want, or their budget could accommodate 6 floors, right? But if they don't get what they want, where they're only limited to 5, then they're willing to go 3. But the budget is, excuse me, the budget was sufficient for 6 floors. So if they were serious in terms of trying to reach some kind of compromise, I would have said, well, you know what, we're going to go 6 floors, right? And 2 for parking, at least get an additional, right? Okay, can you, if 2 floors only give 30 spots, so how many spots would that suffice? But at least they will get 4 floors of service. So if they're willing to live with 3, right? But they had the budget for 6. There's a complete disconnect in what they're bringing to the table. That would be my point. I mean, do they follow what I'm saying? Their budget can accommodate 6, but they will only spend the money for 6 if they don't have to spend any money for parking except for 5, right? If they can't get what they want, they will only go for 3 with no parking.
No,
Right?
I was saying
They could have offered, for example, if we reduce it from 44 to 30, as one person suggested, and have 4 rooms, 4 floors of service, is that something, would that be acceptable? But they're not even willing to bring that to the table.
I was saying what would be permitted as of right without a variance would be 3 floors.
Yeah, I think that is what she said. She's saying that without this variance, she couldn't build anything other than a 3-story building because even though it's across the street from your current facility, is zoned differently. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So if you wanted to build today without having this variance, you can only build 3 stories.
That's contradictory. We
Is
were
that
told
correct?
they were going to build 6 stories.
Yes, that's because with the required parking, that is the amount of buildable space we could have without requiring the parking. Once the parking is triggered, then we have another, it's, it's a cyclical issue. You either build the building that you can in the envelope without the parking, and that's the envelope we have. But if the parking is required, then we have to fit it, then we have a problem, and then we can only build 3 stories because we'd have to waive parking because we have no space to put the parking. I don't know how to explain it any other way. I can have them send you a copy of the as of right plans if you need.
She's our zoning chair. It's zoned for 2 things. The property is zoned C13 and also R6, right? And you're saying if you pick either one, you're trapped in whatever rules apply to each build. Is that correct?
Kind of. We're trapped. We're trapped. You can waive at DOB if you have a certain number of parking, right? And then if you don't have it, you can't waive at DOB. So we're like, we can build up to the point of parking because then we need floors and floors of parking. I can try to share. I don't know how to explain it in a different way. I'd have to think.
There's some knowledgeable people here. I guess we'll get the gist of it. Mr. Dawes, you're unmuted. Do you want to make a comment? No. All right. Thank you. But I just want to color the situation for the team at 3002. Just so you understand that it's not just you as an isolated incident when we discuss this parking thing, that our community board, honestly, within the last, Mr. Lewis, Ms. James, Ms. Martinez, correct me if I'm wrong, within the last year, we've lost several street parking spaces to car share programs that have been implemented mostly over the summer. Even though we've had long conversations against it, we've also had major streets have been taken over by city bikes, even though we had objections to that. And our response to you when you see it will also color that situation a little bit better. This is not just an isolated incident with you. It's something we're dealing with community board wide. It's difficult for us to allow or even think to allow any type of passes for your facility when we have other issues that are happening outside of you in the surrounding areas. The very blocks that you're around in the 400-foot area, I'm pretty sure if I was to drive around there, there's a car share spot that's been taken away from the community residents for Zip cars and other programs like such. I just don't want you to think that it's just you. It's not. It has been going on, and we've been the victims of it for the past 6 to 8 months easily. It's quite new.
Yeah,
So
understood. Thank you so much.
yeah, that consideration is why we're aggressively trying to. We can't allow you to get away with something that's hurting us in long term. That's ultimately the problem we have here. Had this been a few years ago, and Zip car and the iPhone maybe didn't exist, and these things couldn't be created overnight, we wouldn't be talking about this. But this is an ongoing issue. It's an ongoing topic. I get phone calls about it. The transportation chair gets phone calls about it. Our zoning chair, Ms. James, gets phone calls about it. I'm sure it's just an ongoing issue. It's not just targeted towards you. It's quite blanketed across the entire community. And when you hear our response with our recommendations, just take into account that I'm trying to disclose it to you now, that it's problematic for us. You know, I don't want you to see it as, and you can take the information and canvass your neighborhood surrounding and see what we're speaking about. Pretty sure there's a city bike rack taking up multiple street parking areas in that radius of your business. And I'm probably sure that there's probably 4 to 6 or 8 car share parking ports with Zip cars, Kia Souls usually, sitting in there waiting to be utilized. And, you know, our community had no input. So in situations like this where we try to give our input, we're trying to protect something which usually in our case, we've already lost. We've already been losing the fight on that front. And we've made traction. I'll disclose that to you. We've had conversations and we made traction, but you have to understand that it's quite important to us that your facility does something better to at least accommodate that. That's why I'm hoping that you can revisit your build documents and get your input from everyone else. You'll have our recommendation and come back with something that can both benefit your business and not continually put the vice grips down on the community as far as the parking issue is concerned. We welcome services. No amount of medical services is enough. Whether the quality, that's an opinion of, we can't control whatever opinion of the quality of the service, but as long as there's enough facilities, then there's no excuse for our community not being cared for. So we're not in opposition of that, but we are probably most likely in opposition of anything that will add to our current issues on a laundry list of other issues that we've been dealing with.
Understood. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank-
Question is, because I just want to make sure, will you need us to present again to your full board? And if so, when is it?
It would be the third Wednesday of this
Um,
month.
And then this is not me trying, I apologize, but I cannot be in two places at once. And
Sure.
Queens 12 also has their meeting the third Wednesday. So I would ask if you want us to attend again, if we could be voted on in November so I could attend, if you need me to attend.
If are you required for the presentation? If you're not required
Well,
for the
I'm the attorney on this, so.
if you need to move it, there was some talk about that too. So if you need me to move it to November to accommodate that, I'm sure it wouldn't be an issue. Just let me know now and I'll make the adjustment. You'll have our recommendation before that.
Yeah, that's why sometimes that you don't want us, sometimes communities don't want us there. They've already decided and it is what it is, but.
Well, the land use committee is going to decide ultimately, but it is going to go to the board, the board to vote on the decision that the land use committee made. So it is important that you actually have your presentation to the full board so they're fully
Okay.
aware of what's going on.
Okay.
It would be best if you did it sooner rather than, I don't know your timetable, but if your
Oh, so
timetable
no,
works,
my only issue is it's not it's just that one date is I'm already committed to going for a different project in Queens 12 for that community board on the third Wednesday of this month.
I mean, I can interject here, as long as there aren't any legal ramifications in terms of, holding up your process or denying us the ability to have any input, November would work.
yes.
Yeah, no, we haven't been to the Board of Standards and Appeals yet. We don't have a date yet. You guys will have your vote and their input will be sent to them way before we ever meet with them. So that would
So-
still work.
So November should be very fine then. That works. Could you just send the board probably tomorrow, no later than tomorrow, send the district manager a letter asking it to be rescheduled to November?
No problem.
Is that
thank you.
possible?
Yes, it's
So
not a
please-
problem at all.
Please do that as soon as you can, and possibly in the morning. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
No
And on
problem.
your calendars, that'd be the 15th of November. The third Wednesday in November is when that date would be, just so you
Works
can
out
have.
perfect because
right.
I don't have anything currently scheduled. All the community boards I wish could all be on different days, but some of them schedule the same.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get away from my calendar. And you guys have a good night. Anybody's done with the questions? With the team here, any finalized questions? Sorry, I don't have my screen in front of the calendar. Any additional questions for the team? 3002 Farragut Road. Excellent. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I didn't know, honestly, you guys were coming. I appreciate that you did. You was able to clear up some things for us. And we look forward to hearing or seeing you again in November,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Have a good
time.
evening. Take care. Bye.
All right. Okay. So, sorry, I'm just trying to get some count for the actual We still haven't established quorum, unfortunately. To move forward, like we've done in the past when quorum couldn't be established, we'll take, we're not done with this unfinished business, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into discussion amongst ourselves. Then ultimately, we're going to decide on whether the language of the draft, has everyone received the drafted letter? Maybe your opinion has changed based off of the communication that's happened today. But if the letter still stands, or there's additional things you'd like in the letter, now's the time. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Ms. Martinez, you're acknowledged.
Yes, I read the draft. I
Yeah.
think the reality is like, we need to be actually negotiating something, so you have to be more specific about what the asks are. I think there's no mention about potential space for a cooling center or anything like that.
I didn't bring up the cooling center because I honestly, oh, sorry. We had an off conversation because I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if that was actually something that I could ask them to do.
You can ask anything. It's them for it's.
No. I mean, actuality. New York City cooling centers are usually done by New York State sponsored facilities, and those are like YMCA's and buildings like that. So I didn't know if a regular business could just go and say, hey, we'd like to be a cooling center. I think that is not that simple.
I don't think it's that simple, but what I'm saying is we don't have to be the ones to say no. We need to put things on the table and then
Yeah.
negotiate them.
I excluded it. I
And
excluded it
then-
because I was waiting, but I'll add it back in.
Yes. And then I think when you discuss, like, it's too general talking about the participation with youth program, we need to say specific things. It could be, we want you to partner on 5 like community events, to be, developed regarding health or, the various health issues that plague the community with, the elected officials that generally have them, or local community-based organizations that host these events. We want to see that participation. Then you want to have a local program for youth, because the interns that they're going to have are not going to be interns from this community. So if it's a shadowing program or something like that, you want them to develop something like that in conjunction with, let's say, Caribbean Women's Health or any of the other, health-based organizations or something like that. But specific asks for them to deliver.
On community engagement, right?
Yes, it could be that. It can be like, what health forums or tabling events we have in the community are they going to sponsor or participate in and provide whatever resources? Are they going to support, I don't know, the mammogram truck or whatever it is, or that occurs generally in the community? So those are the things that we should be putting in, but we need to, as a committee, and also reach out to other people to ask about what are the things that they would like to see that we could put on the table. They want to get to yes. So if we can negotiate on the numbers of parking, but we can also negotiate on these other things.
Well, yeah, we don't know I think she made it clear about the negotiation on the parking numbers. I mean, the DOT is the ultimate authority on that. Unless they come back with a number that's less than, I don't know if there's a negotiation piece there, unless I missed something.
We just need to be clear on what we would like to see.
All right, I got down, explore the ability to do a cooling center. I asked you about that. I'm just saying. And then specifically,
put it on them.
I know you're working on it. But
yeah, I did do some preliminary research, but honestly, put it on them to figure it out.
Yeah. I know. I get where you're going. What was the thing you said? Violence? Something about violence last meeting? Something about violence? Cut your finger off.
No, it's a summer shadowing program, a youth shadowing program, because we know that the interns that they mentioned before are most likely not to come from within our community. So they could create like a side program or something and work with some of the youth or health-based CBOs in our community to develop that, and sponsoring some of the, the health forums and fairs that we have, and put a specific number to that.
We'll write it up. I'll add it in there. That's what this forum's about. But I do need the feedback sooner rather than later. So, we have time now. We have time. So we'll have another revision. Hands, Ms. Quashi.
Okay, my hand
Yes.
was up.
Sorry, Ms. Viglianti, who said?
Yeah,
Rob?
it's okay. Vanessa, she can go, then, but my hand was up. But, it's
Okay.
okay.
I like to see them partner with some of the homeless shelters to give them some opportunities to do something during the day.
Yeah.
Homeless shelters in terms of what? In providing care?
No, like
Provide
give them some work opportunities.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay. All right, I got that. Anything else, Ms. Quashi?
Oh, that's it.
Ms. Viglianti?
Yeah, so I'm concerned though that having all these other asks, sort of takes away from the main thing that the main thing is about the parking. So if we're gonna negotiate and they're gonna use, the leverage of, well, we'll provide you with the cooling center and we'll provide you with this and this, but we're gonna give you less parking. It's like, I feel like they're getting conflated. I'm not,
Agree.
I'm not sure that, I mean, it's a good thing to have those things, but I don't think it's good to leverage that against the parking.
Well, at this particular moment, there's no leverage against anything.
No,
you
but
know?
I mean, they will then come back with a negotiation, then they might say, okay, we'll give you this and this and this, but we're gonna only give you 10 parking
spots,
spaces.
yeah.
And then we're gonna be in this negotiation back and forth, and those other things sort of get in the way. I mean, is there a way we can just focus on the parking and then have those things as, and we would like to see this, but not as part of a negotiation for the parking? They need to stay separate. That's, I don't know how else to put it.
May I speak?
There's a couple of hands up before you, Ms.
Okay, no, go ahead, no problem.
All right. Ms.
I
Robinson.
think I was next, but it says Mr. Dawes, and because I was going to yield to Ms. Robinson who hasn't spoken,
Yeah,
and if Dr. Dawes, if that was Dr. Dawes, was it Dr. Dawes?
It was Dr. Dawes, yes.
It was. I would also yield to him as well.
I'm gonna
Ms.
go with Ms.
Robinson.
Robinson. Ms. Robinson, and then, yeah, Ms. Robinson had a hand up. Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
I agree with is it Margaret Vigilante? It
Okay.
should be, we should not be negotiating, telling them what we want in order to give them what they want. The bottom line is the parking spaces. That is what we should be dealing with. And I agree with her that the others asking should be a separate issue. I don't think we're going to be able to, they're not going to negotiate with us on this in that manner. It has to be two separate issues. That's my viewpoint.
Okay. All right. The next,
I yield to Dr. Dawes as well. He hasn't spoken.
okay, Mr. Dawes. And then Mr. Lewis, and then Adele, or Adele.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Dawes.
Okay, I understand the concerns about joining the two, but we can send either two separate letters or literally just create a separate paragraph. And some of the suggestions that Allison Martinez has is, these are just suggestions on how any business that is in the community can contribute to the community. Here are some needs that the community has. And if that business wants to be a good citizen, here are certain opportunities. We can make it clear in the way that we articulate ourselves that the reason that we have a problem was the ask for the variance. We can make that clear, period. And separately, whether we want to do it in a separate paragraph or an attached letter for suggestions on how to contribute to the community, we can still put some of these things. And to add to the suggestions, we talked about shadowing programs for some students in the community. If we're talking about high school students, we can work possibly with the Upward Bound program. Brooklyn College is very close by. They have an Upward Bound program. We just have to communicate with the director. So they may already have access to students that are involved.
Lost you, Mr. Dawes. I think you muted yourself, Mr. Dawes. Mr. Dawes? Dr. Dawes?
I'm still here. I just have some background noise. Please forgive me.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
I can. I know the
All
background.
right.
noise.
I'm sorry about that.
You don't have to apologize to me.
I was talking about maybe partnering with the Upward Bound program. If we're thinking about some high school students that can be in some sort of shadowing program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and-
we have the paragraph you're speaking about. It's just not colored enough. You know, it's quite general, and it was done.
I understand. I was just giving you some specifics of organizations that already exist. Or we talked about certain internships. There's the Ellis AMP internship, which is also, it's a national internship, but it's also located at Brooklyn College. So it's another opportunity. If we want to be more specific, it doesn't have to be those programs, but those are just some suggestions.
Yeah, I like that. Could you get that information?
I'll put it in the chat, no problem.
Okay, yeah, just so I could just put it in, and again, it colors the generalization of educational opportunities for students. It could be, you know, with examples such as the programs you named, you know what I mean? And now you have something that you can just, they don't have to search for one, you're giving them one. So it doesn't, it adds to what Allison is saying. It doesn't generalize it, it just asks. And we're not really asking. If you read, I kind of just said, we encourage. That was the language that I went with. That we encourage you to explore. You know, I would hope that that's enough to insinuate to a business without putting a gun to their head, telling them that this is what we would hope you would do to consider, you know, joining the community and aiding in its evolution. Mr. Lewis or Adele? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Mr. Lewis, your hand is down, so Adele.
I think I was next.
Who?
I yielded the floor. I was next when you called me. And I yielded the floor too.
Sorry.
Okay.
When I go down the right, there's just more hands. I'm sorry. There's hands everywhere. All right, guys.
So the first sentence I think could be, it appears to be a little too weak. We would like to express our gratitude for taking the time. And there's nothing we need to be grateful for. I would just simply say thank you for meeting with the community board to discuss the application.
Okay.
2, every situation is not the same. So for example, if a developer has an application into the city and we are reasonably assured that they're going to get what they want, for example, the East 98th Street development, then yes, it's imperative that we make demands and ask for this, ask for that, because it's like, okay, you're getting what you want, right? So then just give us, some things as well. But it is not clear the city is going to give them what they want. In fact, there is resistance by the city to give them what they want. So for us at this point of time to be, wish-washy, well, whatever it is, in terms of this ask, then that to me is a bit problematic. And thirdly, unless we're asking for something that involves infrastructure, which must be in place, then asking for these other programs sound very wonderful and very nice, but who's going to enforce it? So yes, they will sign, yes, we acknowledge it, we'll give you everything that you're asking for. At the end of the day, who's going to be checking up to see that they're actually doing it? So in terms of putting ourselves in jeopardy, for lack of a better word, of having them only get 5 spaces, right? Because we made this request, I think that's where it places us, because we're asking for things that are not enforceable. We, once they get that variance, you and I are not going to be knocking on their doors, bringing the students there to make sure that they conduct the programs. So that to me is a bit problematic. Okay. So to put it in a nutshell, then, since the city does not appear, there will be some negotiation, no doubt. But since at this point the city is leaning heavily to not give them what they want, I don't see benefits us to just at this point of time be the ones to like, we can include in the letter, but it shouldn't be in exchange for, five parking spaces.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna insinuate any. Yeah, it's hard to. Again, there's our draft one. There'll be revisions, but we will need feedback like this sooner because we could have gotten a better version of this draft in front of us now, which would have had all of these things in it. But we're not under the gun, so we'll have the best language, and hopefully we could agree to everybody. With all of the information that's here. Miss who's in? Miss Martinez or Adele? Adele or Miss Martinez?
Adele is first.
Okay. Adele?
I yield to Ms. Martinez.
Thank you very much.
No, my only concern going forward is if the City of Yes plan passes, we have like no leverage at all when it comes to parking. Because parking will basically be a free for all for developers to do whatever they want with it. So while it exists as an option to leverage, because I'm not convinced that DOT is not going to find a way to yes, because from what I see, the city agencies, in the most part, bow down to development anyway. So for me, like, if there's any way, especially if we can limit access, create a space access, which creates an additional asset that we may not otherwise be able to leverage or to get. And if we can throw away, even if there's a way to get program or something, because the reality is I don't know of these people in these spaces actively engaging in the community in terms of supporting programs or these events that happen all the time in Hillel Plaza even. So as a result, like, I rather just at least try and see what happens. I'm not saying that it has to be an absolute yes to it, or that we have to accept their limit of 5 parking spots, but let's just she's asked us like 2 times, what's your list? So
what's your recommendations?
Yeah, so let's make a list and be able to see what comes of it.
But it's twofold. She's asking for a recommendation as it pertains to the building and the variance. And we're also weighting it with the recommendations for their community engagement on the side. It has to be both things. So we just need to make sure that we're strong.
We just need to keep
We
it
don't need to say
simple.
no to ourselves. We know that we want to get parking, but so let's see what else we can get. I'm just saying, let's not say no to ourselves. Let's say, put it on the table and see what happens.
Ms. James? Okay.
My apologies.
All right. That's a lot to deal with. I'm just going to review. I have open a statement, be less gracious, be more firm. Words like gratitude come out, something more simple. I got you. Nothing in the second paragraph. Feel like we colored that enough. The third paragraph, we need to include the ability for the cooling center, be more specific on community engagement asked, like participating in health events, youth shadowing programs, which Mr. Dawes actually gave us 2, which is the Brooklyn College Upward Bound and the Ellis AMP. Did I say that? Did I write that right? I was writing fast. Ellis AMP. And then there was also something with employment opportunities for the homeless shelters. I'm not sure how that's going to be taken, but we'll put it in some nice way and figure it out. And we'll have revision 1 of this letter to review and take apart between now and then. I see hands back up. So I would look down.
My hand was up first name. Okay. Can we please include, sorry, can we please include, when you talk about it with the introduction of city bikes, reference to the merchants? I can attest to the fact that the merchants have expressed major concern about parking. And we can be specific, in terms of, while their facility may open early, and use up the parking space. I mean, address it more eloquently. The fact is, the merchants who open later are going to be their customers are going to be denied parking, and I think that's a major issue we should be concerned about.
So you're talking about the neighboring businesses to the.
Yes, they're going to be severely impacted. When their center opens at 8, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and their employees take up the parking spots, what's going to happen to the other businesses that open at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock?
You know any of those businesses, if they'd be willing to go on the record? Name.
Yeah. I mean, because as I said, during the summer, I spent a lot of time walking down the Nostrand Avenue talking to business owners, and that was a major concern: parking.
Yeah, I don't want to generalize that if we're being specific in other areas. So I will say that your neighborhood, your neighboring businesses also have concerned businesses, and I would like to say the businesses, if they want to go speak to those businesses and deal with that, I think it would be better to do that than to generalize it. Yes?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are we putting in the amount of parking that we want? Are we having a specific number? Or does it have to be the 45 or 5?
I'm not negotiating any of that because it's not up for negotiation
Okay.
at this time.
Okay, so then the other thing is we have to really be specific that the letter is about the parking and we're not negotiating these other asks that we're asking. If we're making a list of all these other things that we would like to see them do, that they're just suggestions because they don't have to do it. It has to be separate from the main body of that letter that's saying that we're not recommending this because of the parking. It has to be separate, either 2 separate letters or definitely separate paragraphs that are, it's very, very specifically separated.
Yeah.
So, for example, we could use language, we encourage you in the spirit of being a good neighbor to consider those other things of that nature.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. We encourage you to. Okay. There's a lot of scratch on this. I want help. Somebody got to help me. If I pick up your phone, if I call you, I'm writing names. I'm writing initials next to these things just in case I need to follow up. So I'll be but you'll see the draft anyway. We'll try to get it out. Yeah. Okay. Tighten up, keep things separated. I mean, I think with the general draft as it stands, it is separated. You know that this is going to be a formal document that will be sent to the BSA. Some things will change. Letterheads will change. Community board 17 will probably go in place a land use committee. Ultimately, as on the official document. Someone talking?
Yes, I said we need to be very direct about how we deal with these people and how we talk to them. Very direct.
Direct in what manner? I'm not understanding this.
How do you say the language that we use in that letter?
Excuse me?
Said we can't be wishy-washy.
As far in reference to what? I'm not sure what we're talking about right now.
Language and not mixing what we want with what the parking is. It's parking. That's what they're here for. Nothing else.
Yeah, I think the initial paragraph states opposition is colored in the second paragraph, and then we make
totally separate
in the third paragraph. Yeah, I didn't really, I think it'd be a little weird if the third paragraph was more than the initial, but we are clearly stating our position on the variance. We're giving the reasons why, and then we're telling them they would, we're telling them how we would like them to address it in the beginning of the third paragraph, and then it goes into other things they can do to be able-bodied neighbors.
I'd say that should be on a separate letter, totally.
Second letter to whom? To the business directly?
Yes, to the business itself.
Okay.
Because that's nothing to do with the parking.
Okay, so now I think that we need to figure out if we want.
Yeah, we can send that letter to other medical businesses in the area to get them to participate also.
We need to figure out how we want the language and the colorful of this letter to look. I mean, we don't have enough quorum to actually vote on this, but it seems like we're kind of divided. I mean, do we want something that's similar to the draft that's here? Do you want the second half completely removed and it to just be the decision and why the decision it is? It might be something that we may need to take a consensus vote on, because now we have people,
Yeah,
there's a number of people that are saying one way or a number of people that are leaning towards the other.
the
So,
second letter, we send it to all medical facility
Maybe
businesses.
we should just take a consensus on that so we can move forward.
Yes.
with the people that are present, I'm not sure how to word this motion. I mean, ultimately, it's two issues, right? And
Yes,
you need to word it in a way. Do you need the letter to Ms. Martinez?
I was just gonna say that the letter should also mention the reality is that they are experiencing acutely aware of the impact of lack of parking because they've resorted to illegally parking on the sidewalk. So to create a project that doesn't address that even for their own staff and, and clients, patients really, seems to me to be problematic in and of itself.
That's a good point. Maybe we should add that into the letter because she volunteered that they're doing valet parking because
That's
they
right.
don't have spots. So maybe somehow you should add that into the letter also.
That's called being a bad business.
So the motion of the letter's context, somebody needs to make a motion to discuss or to approve or disapprove the context of this letter, whether it should just be the decision solely, or should it be the decision with pointed recommendations from the community board of how to be a engaged community business. I need someone else to make that motion, so we could try to vote with the people we have present and lean which way it needs to go. Because I need something. Clearly there's a division.
I vote that they must have parking.
I mean,
it is detrimental to this community if they do not.
Well, we need to vote on that as well. I mean, ultimately, we've never done the consensus vote, honestly, to even vote on whether we are for or against the variance. So maybe we should start there. Somebody make a motion for that.
So, I mean, the motion can be that our response is as stated that we're in opposition. So the question would be whether or not our opposition is contingent on they provide additional services or not. So great. So the motion would be those who are in favor of making our opposition contingent on other services, and those who are opposed to that. I think in the simple motion, right? So,
Well,
so
we
those who
shouldn't be on the contingent. I don't think that's the right. We're not doing it based on contingent because then it's a negotiation. And
so that's what you're voting on. Those who want to make a based on negotiations. So those who want to, those who are in favor of negotiating based on certain asks, versus some who think that we should have a firm ask for parking. I think that's how the motion can be phrased.
I don't think anybody was thinking that it should be based on the asks. So I think that's the wrong way to look at it.
I'm a little confused by that.
I think it should be just, do we want to just have this letter about the parking, or do we want to add the asks as in it or as a separate letter? I think it should just be whether it should be together or separate, because we want to have the asks. I don't think any of us don't want the asks. I think it's just a question of, do we want it as part of this letter or as a separate ask?
Okay.
Which we can send to them later on. I mean, we don't even, it could be just later on, once this gets through and we we give our recommendation, which is in opposition, and then they come back and we're negotiating the parking. And once we get to an agreement there, then we could do these other asks. I mean, those asks are not important for this.
No, we can do it, okay, we do a second level later on.
Okay, Mr. Holly?
Yes, I just think what Marguerite said is correct. And could that be the motion? Because it's two simple items. Do we want it should be, I think it should be two separate asks, one for just for the spaces and one for, and the way she worded it, or one for the spaces with the additional services. You know, I think the way Marguerite just worded it is the way we want to do it. And could that be the motion, what Marguerite just stated?
Yes.
It needs to be stated clearly so someone can second, and I can take at least a consensus vote on it. So we
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Once you give a yes, where is the leverage to then get anything else? It doesn't exist.
We're not giving them a yes, we're actually in opposition. So the parking is a separate issue. So we're in opposition to this variance based on the parking, not based on anything else.
So you're not interested in negotiating at all about this?
No, I'm interested in negotiating those asks, but not leveraging it against the parking.
No, my question is the parking, the 45 required period? Or is there a number or a way to get to some medium?
Well, that's why I asked the chair before, is there a number? But he said he wasn't putting a number in there. So if we're not adding a number, like we want 25 parking spaces or whatever it is, we can't really say because we're not putting in a number.
We're not our jurisdiction to have a number. They're trying to sidestep a requirement from the Department of Buildings and the Department of Transportation. That's required for them to do their build and need 5 spots.
Right, so we can't, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, they're negotiating. They're trying to get it down to 5 spots and are coming to us to do that. That's the means of negotiation. I can't tell them to make it 37.
Right.
That's what they're trying to change.
So it's we're either against it, we're against the 5, so we're against the variance. So this other list of asks is not going to change that because we're not negotiating. Like we can't say, okay, well, we'll take 25 spots and give us a cooling center and all these other things. So it's not a negotiation between those things. We have to separate it. And those other asks we could ask for that anyway.
Yeah, because even when I threw it open to her, I said, well, you're not even saying, well, 30 spots, whatever. She didn't even take that on, and she's a lawyer, right? She didn't say, well, she just completely was either or.
Right, so we have to work based on that. So we're opposing it, and that's it. And these other asks, we can ask for anytime. We could send it as an attachment, as an addendum or not an addendum, but an attachment to the letter, but it's not going to make a difference.
Maybe we should actually reach out to DOT and figure out, when they do their calculations of what the minimum would be, and maybe use that information to help us, get to some place here that makes sense.
Well, I think
because the other alternative is they're just going to build a 3-story unit, and that's that, and you still wouldn't get parking out of it.
That's very unlikely. They're just using that as leverage to give them more.
Honestly, Julia, if it were me and if the numbers would work, I would probably wait on this project until City of Yes passes, and then just do it.
I know, but they're not doing that. They could. She knows that. She's choosing not to do that.
Because they're trying to squeak by, but I don't know. I feel like we probably need a little bit more information before we just whole hog, decide one way or the other.
I don't really agree with that. I think we should oppose it Because we're not
Yes.
gonna have a leg to stand on if we don't oppose it. Unless we can do some research really quickly before November and get the letter out and get it, and get it all within a timely manner, what are we doing?
I agree with you on that. We just need information, I think, from DOT, like if we could find out, I'll get a little bit of a heads up of what their thinking is, and then we can just tag our thing onto them.
I don't think DOT is going to be willing to get that information because then they'd be taking sides, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think that we're
I don't think anything.
we might be coloring a little bit out of the lines here. I don't see a problem with having our stated position on the letter, right? Clearly stating what the issue is, coloring it and saying it's because of the city bikes, being firm in that assertion, saying that this is what we want and we are in opposition of it because we are dealing with it community-wide. And then I think that the problem is the term ask. We're not asking them to do anything. All we're doing is giving them recommendations of how they can be a better business in our community. That's not an ask. This is not about negotiations because there's nothing to negotiate. This is the negotiation. Them coming to us and coming for 5 spots is their negotiation. 5 is the negotiation. That's what it is. We're not there's no middle, there's nothing in the middle. It's like we're trying to create something that's not there. 45 is the requirement, they're trying to get 5. 40 is the negotiation. They're trying to say we want 40 gone. To the city, not to us,
That's correct.
Right, so that's why we need to be firmly opposed to this, and that other stuff is just muddying up what
I don't
we're
think it does.
saying.
I don't think it does.
Because it doesn't really add anything to, it should be separate. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's not that we shouldn't want them to be a better neighbor, but how does it add to what we're saying? It's like, we're gonna oppose this, but you should also be a better neighbor and give us all this stuff. I don't know how it fits in with what we're
But we're
asking.
not asking them to give us all the stuff, though.
Well,
Confuse the numbers. When DOT says they have to have 45, it's what DOT says. They must have it. They can't get around DOT's requirements. And that's just through us.
right, and DOT doesn't care about what else we want. So I think that in this letter, it should be focused on this variant.
I think we should stand with DOT.
And especially since other asks are unenforceable. There is no way we can enforce those things, even if the city will give it to us.
Right.
Correct, but we can stand with DOT.
DOT
DOT made the recommendation, made the determination. We stand with it.
Okay, so can I make a motion then that we separate these two ideas?
Please do.
Yeah, please.
I make a motion that we separate the variance letter from the quality of life issues that we would like the establishment to provide. I don't know if I'm wording that right, but that's my motion.
I second it.
It's been seconded. Motion is moved and properly seconded. Now we're gonna the time for discussion. I think we've discussed it at length, and we're gonna start taking votes. Adele Bennett, are you for or against?
I'm for Marguerite's idea.
You're for the idea to separate. Okay. Miss Martinez, Allison.
I'm going to, I'll say no.
No. Okay. Hazel Martinez.
No, I don't think we should be asking for any, there shouldn't be a second letter.
Marguerite.
But that's a whole different
Wait,
thing.
hold on. We're voting. We're voting.
At all.
Big Leonti.
Yes.
Okay. No, Renault. I think I saw Ann Hudson. Is she still here?
Marguerite.
No, not yet. I didn't forget you. Ann Hudson? I didn't hear you, Miss Hudson. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Ms. Hudson. If you could just put it in the chat or something like that.
Oh,
Very good. Bree DeCosta. Bree? I
I'm
hear
voting no to splitting the letter. I feel like we can get everything we want in one.
one letter. So you're
Yes,
for-
one letter.
So no, right?
That's correct now.
That's a no. Okay, Dr. Dawes?
I'm going to be Gail. I abstain.
Very good. You worked hard for that
Can you-
title. So I'll give it to you, but if you give me that permission, I'll take it. Thank you. Ms. Quashi?
No.
Okay, Ms. Fields?
One letter, no.
Okay. Miss Eileen on the phone? You still here?
Order, sorry, go ahead.
No, she's not here. It's a non-vote. And you have Miss James?
In favor of separating, so I guess that's yes.
That's a no. Oh,
No,
yes,
because
yes,
I can.
yes,
Yes,
Some people-
yes.
yes. Correct, sorry. Ms. Robinson?
Favor of separating, yes.
Okay. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Got Ms. Bakradine? She's at a noisy event. I remember that comment earlier. You may not be able to respond. All right. May not weigh it. And we have Mr. Davis, Timothy,
Abstain.
you. Mr. Holland,
Yes.
yes. And Mr. Johnson, C. Johnson,
I'm sorry, sir. Isn't that just for board members?
oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, no
No,
problem.
it could be, no, not for board members. Your community, you're a land use committee member, right?
Okay, I'd say one letter.
One letter, okay. Thank you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You didn't, did you ask me? I didn't vote.
Yeah, you did.
I did? Oh, you asked me, oh, I thought we were going alphabetically.
Yeah, that's not how I have the list. It's just, the list just is not in alphabetical order. Another thing I have to fix amongst the 40 people. So
I'm sorry. Is Samantha on the list?
Samantha,
Yes. Lawrence?
I do not see a Samantha Lawrence. I had your name. You sent in an application?
I did in like February.
There's no,
I get the emails, so I'm not sure.
yeah, it should be here. Could this be clerical? We've been
Okay.
dealing with some issues. What's your vote, Samantha?
No?
Are we all good?
You have two people, no, you have two people in the chat. Joan said no, and Ann Hudson said yes.
Okay. Yes.
Ms. Lawrence, you said you sent in an application. I'm gonna check for that.
4, 5, 6,
Uh,
7 yeses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 no's. With me being the tie-breaking vote. Is that a shame? Is that not a shame? I say, no. I think we keep the recommendations in. I don't think it'll confuse the, hold on, let me finish this process. My vote is no. So our consensus vote is 7-8, with the majority saying that the recommendations go in. Any opportunity that we have for any agency on any level to see any recommendations this community board has in the public sphere, I think that even though we shouldn't be as specific and I like to generalize things, we can be I'll balance it out to make sure that it's not coming off as asked, but we have to use that opportunity and that platform to have our recommendations out there because, you know, they'll say that we never asked for anything. But if they have something that's in the public domain, clearly showing that we're asking for stuff, I think that it can only aid us with the challenges that we have coming before us. That's an unofficial vote. Of course, we don't have quorum. We were short by 6 people, but the consensus vote is that no. And with those no's, I'm assuming that everyone is in opposition of the parking spots, which I'm going to just do a yay or nay voice vote for, please. I need to make sure that that's clear. All in favor of voting in opposition to the 45 to the 5 spots in lieu of 45 that the applicant is requesting, please say yay.
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 Mhm.
All opposed.
Yay. Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Multiple yays, don't count twice. All right. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Very good. That's just for me, for the record, to say that our consensus was in opposition. You know that unfortunately, because we couldn't have quorum, that we had to take a consensus. We're going to bring this recommendation to the board. I'm going to color it a little bit better at the next community board meeting. Fortunately, they won't be there. So the board, speak to Ms. Frazier, maybe we should probably send out the information after the board meeting so that the residents have it a little bit longer to deal with. It's a lot of information to sift through the way that it was given to us. That concludes hearing no other business, our unfinished business.
Mr. Raffray, could you kindly forward to me a copy of the vote the way
Absolutely.
it's stated tonight? Thank you.
Absolutely. Favor.
I
Both
mean the
votes?
motion. The motion. I'm sorry. The motion I meant, not the
Okay.
vote. The motion.
All right. I'm gonna have to remember, but I think I got it. All right. Unfinished business. Mr. Sorted, is your hand up?
Mr. Chair, on point of order, did
Yes.
you call for a public hearing or community engage at the session? Because a committee, we need to make this very clear. The public is permitted to attend all meetings of the board and committees.
Okay.
However, unless there is provision in the agenda for a public hearing, the public is not permitted to speak.
That's a false statement. That's a false statement.
I'm not sure what the permissible things are. We've had a variance in rules in the coming times. I see hands up and I'm just trying to give whomever the opportunity to say what needs to be discussed. Mr. Sorted, you've been a longstanding guy here. You have your time. Just utilize your time to say what needs to be said and move on.
Well, I'll be a gentleman and I'll go after. I see somebody named Michelle. I'll be a gentleman. I'll go after Michelle. Okay.
Are you talking about unfinished or new business, sir?
New business.
Okay. Let me just close out the unfinished business. Are we seeing,
Okay.
Michelle, are you speaking about unfinished business or do you have something new you'd like to bring to the table?
Good evening. I have something new I'd like to bring to the table.
All right, unfinished.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Unfinished. So the Shirley Chisholm Center. One of the issues that I've found, and I think we would need to write a letter to push Lend-Lease and McKissick a little further on in terms of their community engagement. I spoke to 2 members. One lady is her name is, I think, is Brittany Rivera. She is the construction side in terms of the contractors. and Maurice Durant is community engagement for workforce development. And I spoke to Maurice and I told her, I said, you know, I don't see where Lend-Lease or McKissick has actually made a tangible effort to really get the community involved. So what I did was I provided a proposal in terms of providing basic site safety training, which I would allow members in the community to be able to get this training without any cost to them, to get them prepared for the specific opportunities that will be coming, right? For those who don't know or who don't get them, every week now, Maurice Durant is sending, you know, what is going on, what's happening, the ground, you know, they're digging out the dirt. Right now they're pouring a foundation because I see the concrete truck with the tubes and so forth. But I told her, I feel as though this thing is going to end up getting rushed and they're going to come to her to ask in the community if there's qualified people to be on the site, and we would not have the qualified people. So I told her, instead of being reactive, let us be preemptive. Let us be proactive. Because the whole thing about it is that, again, I don't want us to be in a position for them to make an excuse as to why our people cannot be on that site or any additional site that is coming. Whether it's 3002, whether it's something else, there will always be something going on. So if we have people that are qualified to work on these sites, there's no excuse for the contractors or whoever is there to hire the people. So I think what I'm looking for, maybe to look and get a letter sent out to kind of push them, a friendly reminder that we are in the community and we want to see tangible ways in terms of getting the people prepared and ready for the opportunities.
All right, Mr. Lewis. I'm going to task you with drafting that letter and bringing it back here so that we can have that distributed with everyone else's responses on it. All right. Just to make sure that we have everything that you're putting in, and if anybody else has any other positions on it, you know, we'll add it to the segment of next month, and we'll get it out. I'm in agreement. I think it's going to slow down. I think that they're probably behind schedule based on the projections that we were given initially. To be done in 18 months now is not realistic if you're going into the winter months and you're not even pouring concrete at the time. So yes, we'll follow up and address and make them come back to us formally. All right?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. All right. Concluding unfinished business and moving into new business. I'm acknowledging Michelle. Could you state your name, your representing organization, or whatever you like?
Good night, Mr. Frey, and everyone in the meeting. My name is Michelle, as I mentioned. I live on 49th Street. I'm representing Say No to Less, which is an organization concerned about a myriad of things. I could mention first, a very pressing issue for me is on Utica Avenue between Lenox and Linden. There is a big car wash by the name of Tropical Breeze. There's actually a lot of these big commercial lots that have now been abandoned, and they have been out of business for an entire year. And what happens is they're not properly lit. It's creating an environmental issue, a quality of life issue. They are fenced in. People are hopping the fence. There's graffiti and garbage everywhere. The homeless, as you know, we have a lot of asylum seekers. They keep their carts with their belongings. They push it in, force it into the fence. And my property actually falls directly in the back where they are asking to do a demolition. And then they do the demolition and they want to knock down a solid brick wall, which is existing, and replace it with just a fence so that the back of my home can be completely vulnerable and visible to all of the turbulence on Utica Avenue. And this is going to be affecting all homeowners from 293 East 49th Street to 312 East 49th Street. And we have to deal with that to combat the behavioral health facility located right on the corner of East 49th Street and Linden, where we have homeless and asylum seekers and mentally challenged individuals toggling the streets back and forth from the emergency rooms back to the street, drinking alcohol and tossing their bottles and things onto our property. There's no protection. So I am just asking, you know, what can we do to prevent this? The construction company, High Point Engineering, is asking for access to the homeowner's backyard so that they can do said demolition and render our homes vulnerable. So that's the first thing that I would like to really address.
There's several things that's going to have to be touched on because it spills across multiple things.
Right.
You have a construction complaint. You have a health concern with the condition of the actual lot, which can fall under construction and DOB and the health department. You have another issue with people getting access to your homes in order to do construction. And if there's an alternative, a lot of things that need to be there. Do you have my contact information?
I don't.
Okay. I'm going to provide you with my contact information in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Chat with an email and a phone number. I would like you to just put all of those things in one galvanized thing, and then I'm going to have to get with probably a few chairs from different committees and our direct, and probably Ms. Frazier, to see how we can properly address the issues. And this organization represents the entire residents from the entire block,
Yes.
49th Street?
Yes, East 49th Street.
All right.
Between
So,
Leicester and Linden.
all right. And, okay. Okay,
And
yeah.
just the second concern is with the Vital Brooklyn project. This Vital Brooklyn project is creating a lot of wave for a number of reasons. They are first the awareness portion, right? Because no one has told the constituents of this area that, hey, the residents who've been here and living here for decades, it would be kind of nice to know that we're going to be dumping all kinds of people all over your neighborhood with no criminal background check. We don't know anything about these individuals. They're suffering with mental health issues. And now this project is going to impact the already standing oversaturation. We are really crippling our healthcare system. As you know, Kings County, Downstate University is, they're literally side by side. They service this neighborhood. If you've ever had to be a patient in the emergency room, you would know that that process is now elongated unnecessarily because they are exhausting our healthcare system. Right on Utica Avenue and Clarkson, the homeless, I guess they don't want to go to the shelters. And so a lot of them, they have their push carts and their personal belongings, and they're creating little camps all over our neighborhood, all over Utica Avenue. You can see in the daytime, they go and collect bottles and do different things, and they abandon these carts in the area. And every day when you're going to work or your children are going to school, this is what they see. Sometimes they even confront the elderly individuals. They're just walking up and down. Some individuals have actually been accosted by some of them. The behavioral health institution on the corner of Linden and East 49th Street, the police is there at least 4 times a week. And so there's just a myriad of issues that this non-vital Brooklyn project is going to be causing because it's already oversaturated. Our healthcare systems are already exhausted, and there's no additional policing being put into place. There's no proper lighting, especially with these abandoned buildings. The same car wash on Utica Avenue, the Walgreens and Rite Aid that used to be on Utica and Rutland Road, that now is abandoned and shut down. And so these lots are just fenced in. There's no proper lighting there at all. So what people do, just hop the fence. There's people being raped in these corners. There's graffiti happening. There's garbage being dumped there. So I know I said a lot, but these are the major concerns that are pressing in the area. And there's so many other buildings, and I will actually attach some of the photos that I have of those things, because I think it's always best. It's one thing to say it, but for you to visually see it, you would get a better idea of, how pressing these issues really are and how they will continue to worsen with this Vital Brooklyn project being underway.
Okay. I'm happy that you're aware of the Vital Brooklyn project, which is a state-funded project. I'm sure Mr. Sword is going to color it and say it. The community board, the bulk of that project is actually in another community board. But, as we've stated in the past, if there's enough members and residents from within our community board, like yourself and the members on your block who feel that way, right? This is the forum that you can come to, and you will be given a subcommittee to deal with these issues that directly affect you specifically, with the support of the community board. Unfortunately, before this conversation here, we haven't heard from you. We've only heard from a constituent that's representing the likes of you. With you being here and the representatives that you have on your block joining this committee, we can then come up with a way to address and vocalize your issue, right? It's very hard for me to have members that are volunteering on their blocks and dealing with issues. The only way we know about issues and people's concerns is if we hear about them and from them specifically, right? Like I said in the beginning of my meeting, I got a call or a text Sunday night that a resident had an issue. I was there to address it the next day at 10 o'clock. This is how things get addressed. And that's the only way we can move forward. So it starts here. This is the first step. Letting us know that these issues exist is great. The land use committee does not usually conduct, or most of these issues aren't really land use related, but it's not going to get ignored other than the Vital Brooklyn project, of course, with the exception of it not being a URLIP proceeding and it being a state-funded project that has no input from the community board anyway, and is in another jurisdiction, but that's saying nothing. If it affects our residents, we need the constituency from the block that's being reflected or the area that's being reflected, groups such as yourself, to come here so that we can galvanize your issue.
Right.
And actually vocalize it to whomever you want us to vocalize it to.
Mr.
Right? So I
Alfred,
appreciate this.
I appreciate you saying that. It's just a lot of the residents are elderly. There's a lot of resistance. There's, they're unable to, what I can do when I do get your contact information, I have gone door to door to get the addresses and the names of my residents who are going to be directly affected by this demolition project, and communicate that information to you, and see, so you will understand how many people are going to be impacted and they're affected, but they're not sure how to or they can do.
Yeah, and that's what our community board is supposed to do. You're supposed to come to us as your representation with your issues, and we're supposed to try to find a way to get to a reasonable solution, like we've done on Monday of this.
Kumbaya, oh, the Statue of Liberty, bring us, you're tired, you're weary. New York is the place, we are a sanctuary city. Boom, you got it. You got it now.
All right, I'm not sure, but Michelle, I'm gonna give you my contact information.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for listening.
While we figure that out, does someone else want to speak while I try to get this information out there? And then this is the new business, so any hands up, you're acknowledged while I try to get the. Anything? Nobody, huh?
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not acknowledged. I'm trying to. Is any hands up?
Yeah,
Sorry.
my hand is up. Good night.
Miss Cheryl?
Cheryl, yes. Hi, how are you? May I
Good.
commend you, sir, Chair, for being so accepting and understanding to listening to your constituents. I am very happy to hear this, and I appreciate you. I do live I happen to find out the Community Board 9 wrote a letter to Governor Hochul in opposing Vital Brooklyn.
Okay.
I'm aware that Vital Brooklyn, the area, is in Community Board 9's area. But when we talk about drawing lines, homeless, the mentally ill, they can cross the street.
Absolutely.
It will affect your community as well. I know that it's in a certain jurisdiction, but if every neighboring community board unites in a united front to help to save your constituents' property, homes, persons, cars, area, to help to save everyone to be safe, I think that's what's important. A lot of people are saying it's in Community Board 9, and I understand that, but it's across the street from where your constituents are. And I think that if your community board can come together and bring notice, send some type of opposition to what's going on or what is to be built, we know that it would at least get some notice. And I just asked that. Maybe you can talk with Community Board 9, ask them how they feel about it, what their steps are. We have more than one community board coming together. I think we can be effective. Thank you for letting me speak.
Absolutely. And let me just inform you, we have had several communications with Community Board 9 regarding this issue because it's been an outstanding and long issue within our district. We've reached out to them, we've asked them how they like to help, how they would like us to aid us in that situation. We've explained to them that, primarily that it comes on the, obviously we know that the lines are not blurred. We know how countries go. We know that, a state line is a state line and it can affect us. But we believed, or we came to the consensus at the time, that the spear needed to be coming from them. And we had no problem being a part of the shaft and the fins in the end of the arrow to aid in anything that came forth. But we need to also have people from within our district, right, at the forefront. If we have questions, right, say it's our issue now, and we have questions about who's being affected and how they're being affected, I need people from the affected areas communicating that to our community board, right?
Agreed.
It's impossible for me to deal with every single issue that's being blanketed by any group or any affiliated people or persons or organizations, right? And not have the voice of the person being affected. It's hard. So I'm asking, like I've always asked, if there's enough people that are interested, because those people aren't in this room, right? It hasn't come up. I've been the chair for 3 years now. It's come up in conversations. I've asked, and no one's willing to take the task on. But if enough of you are here, and you are vocalizing it enough, and we are hearing about it enough, we have no choice but to address an issue that we're being confronted with.
Might I say something else?
Absolutely.
Sir Chair, unfortunately, people don't know. That's the issue. They don't know.
Well, that's another issue. That's another issue. And we can help with that issue. We can get that information out there, but in what facet? We need to have it out there and have it communicated, and by showing areas being affected, such as your own, right? By telling that story through that lens, right? We can't tell another community board story, right? But I can tell your story about what's happening at Tropical Breeze. Used to get my car washed there, very familiar with the place, right? And how it's affecting you and how something from somewhere else may be affecting that. That's something that we can sink our teeth into. But we cannot sink our teeth into another country's issues. That's the issue. That's what's being asked of us without a supporting body. But that's the true issue. Hearing from you now, I'm quite happy about it, because now Michelle and Cheryl, and I'm hoping more people come to tell me what's actually going on and how you're being affected now before it's even built. That's the only way that I could grasp or develop any type of action plan to something. You understand? It's hard to fight something that I'm not hearing any voices, or the loudest voice in the room is not from the people being affected. It's difficult. So I just ask that you communicate that as clearly as you can. And I understand that there's elderly people, and I get that. But we have several members of our groups who have block associations, and when they come and they speak on behalf of that block association, right? So we know how that particular block in our community feels towards a particular topic, right? That's a strong way for us to have a galvanized message saying that we're being affected. What can you do for us? Then we can work on that. That gives us something to work with. And I hope you believe us, because it's been on my plate for 3 years now, and I wish I could do more about it. But outside of a few people coming to the community board meetings, this is my first time actually asking this. I'm asking you to go door to door and say that we're willing to help. No one's denying that, no matter how it's colored. But we're just asking that whomever's affected, communicate that to the community board and let us know. so we can respond accordingly.
You're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you.
Try my best. Mr. Sorted, you
Yeah.
have your time.
Sure. Would Mr. Osney Lewis like to go before me? I'd be more than welcome for Mr. Lewis to speak first. He's got more Twitter followers than me, so.
Don't worry with that. You go ahead, Mr. Sordet. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. My name is Jay Sword. I want to start off by saying there was a comment that was said maybe a year ago that said that I had clients, that I had some sort of personal interest, that I had clients from Long Island that I'm representing. This is on video. So I wanted to tell everyone there, I do not have any clients from Long Island that own any property near this project. I have no personal interest. I'm doing this just for the love of the game because I used to have a property on Schenectady Avenue and I was friends with the neighborhood. So
Could
the
you
person
clarify
who
the
said
project?
that,
Could you clarify the project just so that everybody that's listening who's not familiar?
yeah,
or-
it's the Vital Brooklyn. On video, JL James specifically said, and I have this on video, it was probably an innocent mistake, because I spoke to JL James on the phone. But there was an innocent mistake in which JL James then said, I have clients that I need CB17 to help me with my clients on this particular project, and that's why I'm coming to the community board. That's in October of 2022. So I just want to tell you, I have no conflict of interest. That's the point. What I wanted to say, what I wanted to ask is, is two things that you mentioned. Even though this is a New York State funded project, and I would ask that you bring in the public advocate. And, I'd like maybe if I could speak informally instead of it being confrontational. This is a very difficult topic. It's very difficult in terms of the legal aspect of it. No, CB9 doesn't know it. It's a very difficult topic. I would ask that maybe the public advocate explain how it works. So in the chat, just to make it easy, I put in 3 links. To the chat. So there was the idea that says that CB17 can't do anything. It's a state project and it's physically located in another place. That was the narrative. That's not how it works. Okay. In October of 2022, I watched this very committee, CB17 Land Use Committee, and I see Ms. Hazel Martinez has her hand up. Hazel Martinez spoke at length and was very sympathetic and was very helpful about the horror stories that happened to people in CB17 from these shelters. So I have the link of October 2022. I hope everybody touches the link or copies it so they could see that this community, this committee knows about the topic. The question is, are people from CB17 being affected? That's the first question that you guys should ask. If they're being affected by it, you can get involved. And I show you how you can get involved. I have a document in there. In 1998, when 681 Clarkson Avenue was put up there, this community board voted it down. So there's evidence, and you could see it in the chat, that this, as long as it doesn't matter where it's physically located, if it affects you, if this was a ULURP, you have every right to get involved. And by ULURP, I mean if it was city law. So if it's city law, it doesn't matter where it physically is. The question is, are you being affected? And there's tremendous parking issues. You guys are talking about 35 parking spots. There's over maybe 15, there's maybe 1,800 units. Very few of them have parking spots. 681 Clarkson is 1,090 units, no parking spots. And this is going to cause the displacement of a predominantly Black community who relies upon parking and with the homeless. So the first question I think people should ask is, does it affect CB17? And the October 2022 video showed that everybody here said CB17 residents are getting hit bad. The second question is, can we do anything? The narrative is we can't do anything because it's in CB9. That's not true if it was a city issue. If it was ULURP, this is a New York State issue. There's nothing stopping this community board from saying residents are being affected. We either are for it or are not for it. Now, in the chat, CB9 just gave a letter. They just passed a motion a week ago at the general meeting saying that there's a lot of concerns, there's a lot of issues. We want to postpone this and we get more information. So I just want to make the point that, and by the way, the person, when Michelle said that she didn't know about it, Michelle's job is not to do research online, okay? The community board, not necessarily the committee, not necessarily you, Mr. Free, but the community board and New York State should have sent out a mailing so these people know about it. You know who sent out the mailing? Me. I sent out 1,600 letters to everybody in CB 17 and CB 9. And that's how I got all these people from who said, I don't know what the hell's going on. The community board has to inform people. And in terms of people coming to the community board, you guys have had some terrific leaders, Black leaders in the past, like Malcolm and Martin Luther King. Leadership is when a person leads, okay? It's when a person says, this is what's happening, okay? And I'm going to do something. The politicians are the followers. They only do it based upon votes. I'd like you to, if you can, Mr. Free, bring in the city public advocate and also take a look at the CB9, the letter that's in there. I have it all in the chat. And I'll tell you, the area that's affected is a low-income, disadvantaged neighborhood. It's a TRIE neighborhood, East Flatbush. It's one of 33 of them.
I've
And
lived
if
in
they
East
don't get
Flatbush
this-
my entire life, Mr. I don't need you to tell me what it is. I know
No,
exactly.
no, but the TRIE is a recent thing. It's only come in the past 2 years. A TRIE neighborhood, I'm sure you're familiar with the neighborhood, of course, but a TRIE neighborhood, there's only 33 of them. And it's very important that they get the rights and that they not be shut down and that they be informed. So the two questions I ask you to answer is, does this affect CB 17 residents? And can you do something? And I'd be very curious, how many people who are on this committee live north of Linden Boulevard? How many people live north of Linden Boulevard? I just want to see geographic representation. How many people live north? I see Michelle. How many other people live north of Linden Boulevard? I don't see anybody. Is that now Hazel Martinez? I don't think you have your hand up for that because I think I know where you live. Is there anybody here who lives north of Linden Boulevard? And that's your problem, and that's what you guys have to solve.
That's actually not our problem. That's the problem that I addressed earlier. I know that your speech was there. I'm saying that we don't have anybody in our community board that's echoing your speech until today. I said that, right? You heard me.
So
I said that. So you just proved that, right? And I told the people that are here that I was happy to hear from them because they're the ones that need to be addressing it for the community board to have an interest in it. Now, we're going to, not that we don't have an interest in it, is to effectively echo the voice of the community. We can't just start saying things that you're saying, Mr. Sorid. We understand that it's an issue, but we need community residents to echo your thoughts if they believe those thoughts. I've been saying that to you. I said it today, right? Saying it again. I'm saying it again, right? And I gave you your floor to be fair and to be outright, like I've always done.
Thank
right?
you.
But
Thank
I
you
want
very
to
much.
be
Thank you.
clear that yes, you've been here, but the people that are being affected haven't. So why wouldn't you try to put your efforts into, I'm happy that you've informed them, great, but by telling them to come to the community board with the issues so that we can discuss it here, right? We need people from the community discussing the issue. That's the disconnect. That's the ambrosia of the gods that's missing from this whole formula that's going on. That's what's needed, right? Right? That's what we need. I'm telling you what we need. So if you want more or less or whatever the case may be, I'm telling you outright what's required for us to do something effective. Because we could just write a letter saying, hey, our communities are effective. If there's no voice, no backing, no any data supporting that, it's mootless, it's weightless, you know? And we're not that type of organization. We represent our community quite well. We answer the aid and we try to do what's best for it. We have community-based organizations. We have everything under the sun. But if it's silent, how can we address it? Right?
But you represent everybody, even the people who are silent and even the people who don't know. Every person, even who lives down south in CB 17, you represent the whole place.
And I hear
Everybody you
the complaints from that whole place. When I get a complaint from them, I'm there.
Okay. All right. I think we're on the same page. Thank you very much, Mr. Free.
Right?
May I make a suggestion, please? I'm sorry to butt in.
Yeah.
Maybe so we can move this along.
Yeah.
May I suggest that Cheryl or Michelle, I don't know which one, well, both, either of
Oh,
you. Maybe
yeah.
you can get a petition and go around the northern area of CB 17 and see if you can get, I mean, somebody said in the chat, you can't force people to get involved, but you can get people to sign a petition. So at least if you come to Community Board 17 with the petition from all of these people that live in Community Board 17 that they want this to be addressed, that would help us a lot. We have a bulk of people that are interested. Maybe you can't get them all to come to the meeting, but you can draft a letter and get a petition signed. That's the only thing I can think of to get a lot of people involved at this point.
Well, thank you for that, and Miss Marguerite. That might actually help.
All right. I'm sure there's a bunch of hands up. I'm just trying to send an email out. Just give me a second. Anybody, if you're new to the order.
So some of the issues that we are looking at is more of a policy or law issue more than anything else, right? If you look at the way that the homeless shelters are taken are put in, there is no programs for these folks, right? They are pushed out at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and they come back or told to come back at 7 or 8 or 9 in the evening, right? So now we're looking at economics, right? So again, some of the things that we, when we look at it and we say, oh, why these people in the street? Because the policies and the laws have them in the street, right? So now we have to start looking at those things and then pushing those type of things to the same politicians, your state senator, your state assembly person, all of these things. That is how you become active or activated, right? Because coming to the community board, yes, that is all well and done, but you have to also come with a plan to state, well, okay, what policy is affecting what? Why is it the way it is? What's going on? We're looking at all the migrant and all this stuff. Now, you could go and push against your state senate, your not just state senator, but your senator for New York State. You could go against your the business rep or the representative, right? And ask why isn't there more things done in order to deal with the issue in terms of giving these people work authorizations to pay taxes? You understand? These are all of the ways you could activate yourself. But don't say, well, okay, you're looking at one avenue. The community board is one instance, but again, all of us could become a little more proactive, knowing, because if we talk to any of the constituents, how many of us know who our elected officials are? Let's be honest. So you don't even know who to go and speak to if you have an issue or a problem, because why? You don't even know when it comes around. Some of us vote, some of us don't vote. So again, all of this comes together as part of community engagement. I don't want us to miss that or lose that as part of the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Ms. Martinez?
I have a couple of comments. Number one, years ago, we spent a lot of time having monthly meetings at the very 681 Clarkson. And outside of Gail Dixon and a man living on Schenectady, I didn't see anyone else from the community there, except some of us concerned members of the board. And I mean, they cannot force those people based on the laws to take any of the services that they offer, they provide them there. And so in the daytime, they're free to go all over the place. And that is a legitimate problem. However, Jay Sorin is not the messenger for that, because he had his own agenda that he put on this chat, that his thing was to take care of the Jewish community. And if the people there that are following him now think that he is for them, they better be careful, because he is not for them. He is very rude and makes racist statements. And his last statement about, like it or not, we're going to have some milk in our cream in our coffee. Well, I found that very offensive that you said at the board meeting. So you have no credibility with me.
Okay, okay. Let me ask you something. Let me address that. I'll address that right now.
I need you to address
What-
it quickly because we're trying
Okay,
to.
sure. If I made a statement saying you better like a little bit of cream in your coffee, it's because what you're doing is you're changing the dynamics of the community. You're taking a black community, and with the upzoning and the gentrification, you're bringing in a tremendous amount of people that are going to change the political dynamics. Okay, putting 8-story
care,
buildings
like
is
you
not in the
care.
interest of that. Oh, I do care, and I'll tell you something else. There are 80 people. You have me wrong. You have me wrong. In CB9, I'm friends with every one of the black activists, all of them.
Jay,
We are real.
Jay,
You don't know me,
Jay,
okay?
Jay, you do not owe her an explanation. That's it. She's not worth it. Stop.
You don't know who I know. I'm friends with all of the black activists, all of them, and they think that the community boards are sellouts. Okay?
I know how rude you were at our meeting when you tried to take it over.
You
We haven't forgotten.
Vital
right, I'm just
Brooklyn is
gonna ask
destroying
you-
a black community.
Place
It's
for a
destroying a
agree
black
to
and Jewish
disagree.
community. All right?
I
Deal with
appreciate
it.
that.
You're selling out your own people.
I don't
Mr.
think this is
Sorid,
a place for personal attacks.
time.
To just keep it to the agenda.
Exactly. We're just trying to stay orderly. Thank you very much, Mr. Sword. Everybody
Mr.
has a chance to
Yeah, but
speak.
Mr. Chair, on point of order, I think the people who are coming tonight to speak to us need to know it's on a record, okay? And I can make it available to them, that it was said he represents a certain race.
Okay.
And he repeated it twice, it's on a record.
Yeah.
So they need
Now-
to be aware of that.
Absolutely. Now let me.
Say
Now I get
something.
to
Wait,
respond to
can-
that.
Jay, can
I
say-
get to
Jay,
respond to that.
Jay,
Jay, let me say
Mr.
something real
Sword.
quick. The reason why he said he represents a certain community is because he's bringing awareness to the fact that no one represented the black community. He was stating where are the black people and where are the black representatives. So Jay, stop explaining yourself. Stop. We know what you
Thank you.
are.
I'm gonna call the question and give it to the person that's on video. Your name is not present.
Kwame, can I respond to that comment that J.L. James made about me? I have to respond to that. I was attacked. I'm allowed to respond to it. I was attacked saying I represent a certain race, which makes me seem like a racist. I want to respond to it. The
I'm
reason
gonna
that
respond, Mr. Sword. You've responded multiple times.
I've been attacked multiple times. If I'm attacked as a racist, you got to let me respond to it. She's bringing up the fact that I said the reason that I said it is I said I'm a member of the I'm a member of the Kingsbrook Jewish Shul. The reason I said it is because I didn't want the community to think that I was some politician out there. And there's nothing wrong with me saying that I'm a member of the Kingsbrook Jewish Shul because I live in Long Island, okay? But I have a lot of black friends also. That was my standing, that I was part of the Kingsbrook Jewish Shul and I have an interest in the Jewish community. Because otherwise, I didn't have an interest. That was before I made Say No to Less. And J.L. James, let me tell you something. I have all your emails of everything that you said.
Mr. Sword,
Okay.
you made this statement. You made your statement addressing the comments that were made to you.
All right, fine.
So I can keep an
Agreed.
orderly meeting. Would you please
Agreed.
kindly cease from the additional attacks so we can move on? Could you do me
Thank
that
you,
service?
Mr. Kwamina.
Thank you. I'm not sure what your name is. It just says Gene 3026 email. You have your hand raised.
Yes, sir. Thank you for calling me. I am observing this community board meeting, and I unfortunately oppose to seeing us really truly attacking community issues, pretty much like a spat between Jay Sorid and the other individuals within the admin groups.
Okay.
And I find that to be unfortunate. The reason being, from my understanding of Mr. Sorid, he has a great, abundant amount of information. So even if Mr. Sorid, and again, to be clear, I'm not advocating for Mr. Sorid, but I'm saying even if Mr. Sorid is for a certain community or a certain race, what is the problem with that if he is attacking a project that's going to destroy the community? I think it's very unfortunate that we're trying to turn this into a race thing or into a religion thing or whatever. We can't stray away from the fact that the issue at hand is that this vital Brooklyn project is going to destroy the community, and a lot of people are upset about it. Even further, before I close out, I want to be clear that we feel that the community board is not properly addressing the situation. Every time we bring the situation up, the people who are at the butt of the accusations say, they shrug and say, hey, it's not us, it's another community board or it's another division, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you guys, and again, not you in particular, but the individuals who are responsible are playing monkey in the middle with the community. Every time we go attack someone, it's like, no, it's not us, it's someone else. And now when you have an individual like Jay Soren that's killing everybody with accurate statistics, with accurate questions that are very damaging, like, everyone attacks him. Why?
I can't speak for why people are attacking him. I've addressed why the community board is taking the stance that it's taken, right? And like I've said, we haven't been ignoring those requests. We've had multiple meetings with the community board that's been directly affected. That's been stated publicly, right? I'm not sure if you're aware of that. We've had multiple meetings with CB9 and their boards and their land use chairs to address this issue over time. I'm happy to see that they've actually generated a letter, and we'll be in communication with them in regards to that letter, because they didn't get in contact with us in regards to that. So we can understand its context and the why, right?
Okay. So now, Mr. am I saying it correctly? Afra?
Afray.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Afray. So now, in front of this entire community board right now, I want
It's the
to,
land use committee, not the community board.
I'm sorry, excuse me, committee,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
To get a clear and concise, concrete answer, what do you plan on doing to support or supplement the letter that CB9 had wrote to Ms. Hochul?
We would need to evaluate the situation by speaking to our community residents that are directly affected, as stated before, right? We would need to see what effective ways that we could actually address the issues that are happening, regardless of the actual bill that's in progress or coming in the future. That's what we do, right? And then if we have enough information and teeth to bite and representatives from the community to push the issue, we would follow up their letter with a letter of support. That's how things get done in our community board. You can't have, right, someone else speaking or fighting your fights for you, right? Every year we have community residents, and this is not to speak to people in the room, that come into the room and tell us their issues when it's affecting them, right? And unfortunately, you know, they come with the same animosity or the same, you know, angst that, you know, we've been ignoring them. No, a lot of the times we're hearing it from them for the first time. And when that issue came, Mr. Johnson could speak to that. We address those issues. And we support them in their issues to get whatever they're trying to oppose, should it be the direction that the community board as a whole feels supported. That's what we do. That's what's been done. That's the history of what we've done, right? I'm gonna ask Mr. Sword to get in communication with me, because I'm gonna ask them publicly to show me in the past, right, how any situation like this that's happened elsewhere has had success with the process that he's trying to take us on. We don't know, I don't know what an effective message, to be honest, to figure out what he actually wants from us is just a letter of recommendation. We don't know, but we don't just do that, right? We need to know what we're fighting against. We need to know who we're fighting for, right? All of these things need to be clear in the community board. We don't fight and we don't take up battles for phantoms or issues. When issues come before us, we have a history of showing that we get them addressed. And I'm asking you and anybody that's affected to join the appropriate committee or get involved with the community board and tell us, because you see, this will happen today, right? But 2 months from now, the people probably won't be here. And then it gets forgotten.
And
Forgotten, but
that's your answer, Afray.
But the voiceless don't get heard. You know that.
Yeah, and that's a fair answer. But so my question for you, Mr. Afray, is what are your views on this vital Brooklyn project?
My views is that it affects my constituents and my residents, and I'm not for it. Right?
Okay.
That's my views.
Okay.
That's my views.
Thank you.
Right?
But
that's I don't speak for my entire community. So you can't use that as a leverage or a point to make anything. I represent the Land Use Committee, which is a conglomerate of multiple people that are spread throughout the community, right? I represent them as a voice. I don't go in front of my community board and speak what I want. I speak what they want. That's my job. I don't want anybody to confuse that by thinking that I can go take the flag and run with it. There's plenty of things that I don't like, right? There's plenty of things that I don't agree with. But it's not up to me to take someone else's battle and run with it if it doesn't represent what my committee members want addressed. And that needs to be clear. I don't know what story is being told outside of that, but that's how the community board operates. We represent a community. If you're not involved in it and you're not heard, then you don't get represented, right? You have to be present. You have to be loud. You have to voice. You have to join the meetings, join the appropriate committees like sanitation, social services. These are all committees that we have. We have 13 standing committees. At one time, we had 17, to the point where we consolidated them so we could have people come to the meeting. And now I have people coming to my meeting addressing all those other committees' issues. And that's not the way it gets done, right? We have standing committees, including rezoning, to address multiple things that are going on without the community. But coming here and telling me, yeah, I can help you, and I have the fortitude and the mental fortitude to help you and deal with issues that aren't mine and guide you in the right direction to hopefully get a resolution. But you have to understand that it starts with you.
Yes,
it's
sir.
always started with you.
Yes,
right?
sir.
It started with me. I lived in this community my entire life. I didn't join the community board until 3 or 4 years ago. Now I'm understanding that all the things that I'm seeing, I didn't have a voice on. I can complain about it, but now I'm here, giving my time to try to get them resolved. And I'm asking anyone that really believes it's an issue to do the same, right? We can't, like I said, the room is a collective. If you're quiet or you're angry in your corner and no one knows, then no one can help you, right? And I've given the instructions. The most effective way is to get involved in the community board, be present at the associated club meetings or committee meetings, be at the general board meeting, join the community board, be a board member, be a voting block, get your issues addressed, and we can address it. And that's just not for Vital Brooklyn, that's for everything. But even in small pockets, we don't ignore any community residents ever. That's not our MO. That doesn't do us no justice. We've had success stories. They're quiet ones, but we've had success stories. We've had our residents come to us and not want something to happen, and guess what? It didn't happen, right? Those get whispered, right? But issues like this, which are really not an issue for us to address directly, even indirectly, gets echoed as if we're ignoring it. No. Please just come, get involved, and we'll get your issues addressed. That's how it's always been. That's how it will always be, and that's how business gets done. You know that. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. You know. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the presence in the conversation because this needed to happen. And usually my committee is probably going to kill me because we need to adjourn. But I want to make sure that everything has been clear to our new people. I'm asking if you contact Ms. Frazier, if you're interested in being in the Land Use Committee, fill out an application, be an active member, get these issues addressed on a monthly basis. If it's affecting you, be here. This is the place for it, right? But understand that there's places for your other issues. You're going to need to segment them to understand where you need to go to get those particular issues heard. Now, you don't need to be an active member in those committees, but you can go to those meetings and have your voices heard on the particular topic. And that'd be the most effective way. Then it comes to our executives bring to the general. You can come to the general board meeting, have a standing voice there, and then we'll address your issues as we've always done. All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Hearing no other new business.
Can I just make another comment? Then
All
I'll.
right, just be mindful of the time, Ms. Viglianti.
Sorry.
right.
I've made the suggestion before, and I'm making it again. anyone that's interested should get a petition together, write down what it is that you would like to see happen with this issue. Draw up the letter and have your community, have the members in your community sign that and bring it to us. Because the more people that seem interested in moving forward, the better it will be for us to take it up with the board. That's it.
Thank you for that clarity.
Can I just add one last thing, just for historical context and accuracy? I don't want people to think that CB17 did not like in any way try to do anything in regards to Vital Brooklyn, because back when this was an issue, I was actually co-chair of land use at that time, and we were constantly involved. Diana Richardson had monthly meetings about the project. We submitted a report to her office about our concerns and the community concerns in general about that. A lot of people who were part of the land use committee at that time worked on that. And personally, we're at meetings at the homeless shelter about what they could do about the issue of people defecating by people's homes or creating issues at the McDonald's and all of that. So we have a history of being involved, but what we didn't have was a vote at that time. So all we could do is submit our suggestions, our concerns, and try to advocate. Even though we didn't necessarily, I don't particularly live right there, we were all involved in that way. So I don't want you all to think that we had a complete blind eye to it at all. But the reality is you have to get involved. Anytime you move in a community, you should know and join or attend the community board, because things are happening in your area. And this is one of the easiest ways to find out, number one, what's happening, and number two, who to talk to about it. So that's it.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Could someone make a motion to adjourn? And no other new business?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Marguerite.
And Alexander Bakardine seconds the motion.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. The meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everybody. I hope to see you next month. If anybody has any communications or need from me, my email, telephone number, and our group chat is in the in the comments. Everyone have a good night. I'll keep
Good night. Good night.
Appreciate it. Sorry, Ms. Frazier. I know I went late.
Thank you, Sir Chair. You were great.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Joining us.
Good
Have a
night. Good night.
Please reach out to me. Everybody, please be in contact with the drafts or the revisions, and we'll make sure that it goes out correctly. Have a
Yes, sir.
good night again.
Awesome. Good night.
Appreciate it.
Night.